Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild. So original, got the haters, got your feelings. Put your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there, making your day positive. It is Tuesday, everybody. Tuesday, and we got a lot to talk about throughout the course of the day. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on here, guys. There's some updates regarding the tragedy that we covered yesterday morning. And so I wanted to hop on and give you guys those updates, some of the information. There has been more bad news. We did lose another person, another victim, lost their lives to this horrific attack that came onto the Old National Bank in Louisville, Kentucky by this monster. 25 years old monster. I heard 23, but on his LinkedIn, if I'm correct, he's 25. Yeah, it's bad. It's all bad. But I got some updates for you guys so we can understand a little bit more of what the heck happened here. And they have things that have been confirmed. There are things that we heard about, but now they have officially confirmed them as well, as you see in the comments, in the title down below. So we got some things to get into. We got some work to do, many miles to go before we sleep. So let's get cracking, shall we? But before we jump into everything, a little bit of housekeeping for you guys, or for us, or for me. Hit that like button down below. Send it past 300 likes as you guys start to file in. That would really mean a lot. Okay. And of course, if this is your first time checking out this show, please consider hitting that subscribe button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Make sure you hit that notification bell, set it to all so you know whenever I have a pop-up video or whenever I go live, because a lot of times I go random live. Okay. Especially if there's breaking news or breaking updates in particular stories. Okay. And of course, by all means, hit that join button down below. Helps the channel keep these purple lights on and all that, okay? All right, guys, we got to get into this. Now, we know, well, as of yesterday, because I'm going to be updating you guys now, there were 4 victims that lost their lives. 4 ex-employees, former employees, I guess, of this former colleague that came in and opened fire on a room full of people having a conference, getting ready for their day at work at the Old National Bank in Louisville, Kentucky. Some really bad things happened. Okay. This monster, walked in with a rifle, took aim, and now, or as of yesterday, we had 4 people that lost their lives. Well, late last night, late in the evening, we got more information. A 5th person lost their life, lost their battle due to gunshot wounds. And so, of course, I wanted to share with you guys some of the names of the victims. Of course, there's a cop right now that's fighting for his life as well. Okay. There's an officer fighting for his life, a GSW to the head, by the way. So there's a lot that I want to share with you guys. I'm sorry. There's just trying to make sure I have everything lined up here. And there's new information that's just been popping out, just like as we're speaking, as we speak. So I wanted to first off give you guys the faces and names, and of course all that stuff too. So let me share that with you guys really quick. And honestly, I'd rather be on here rapping with you guys about how nasty the Dalai Lama is, but I'm just gonna have to talk about that on another day. But yes, some of you guys say he live streamed. Yeah, he really bloody did. So sorry, just wanted to make sure I got the stuff up here. Okay, just wanted to do that. Thank you guys so much for your patience, and I'll get to the super chats and all that in just a minute. I appreciate all the support right off the bat. But here are the names. Okay, everything lined up here. And there's new information that's just been popping out. Victims that lost their lives in that bank. Okay. So, of course, these are their faces. I'm gonna be reading their names here in just a second. Just like I'm gonna try to find a better, cleaner, as we photo, because this is a still from a video here. But these are the 5 that lost their life. That lost their lives in this fatal tragedy. I wanted to yesterday morning at around 8:30 a.m. before the banks even opened. Just so you guys know. And again, for those of y'all who are late to the party, that are just learning about this situation, okay? Got it. I fixed it. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. I keep forgetting to click just one little button, okay? But it's fixed now, okay? Sorry, guys. Where was I? So they were in there, and for those of y'all who are late to the party, they were in a conference room getting ready for their day. He walked into that conference room with they say a rifle. Now we're hearing more information as of 30 some odd minutes ago. They came out with a new update, which I will be giving you guys here very shortly, as far as what kind of weapon, what kind of rifle he walked in there with. We can all guess what kind of weapon he walked in there with, of course. I'll give you one guess, okay? It's a very popular item on most of these monsters. They're rocking a lot of these nowadays, but I digress. He walked into this room with a rifle. That's what they said at that time. He took aim and he pulled the trigger. Okay, guys? One person was one of the 4 or one of the 5 was not named as a casualty yet. They were rushed to the hospital, of course, and they later on perished in the hospital, okay? So now it is, if you count the monster himself, it is 6 casualties. And I guess it's 7 people who are injured that are all fighting for their lives right now as we speak. So we got some things to talk about, but I wanted to give you guys the faces and the names, and I'm going to be saying their names here in just a minute. Officials have released the names, and this is from this morning. Okay, so this is not very old. Okay, this is still brand new, but they have released the names of the people unalived in this mass tragedy in downtown Louisville. The shooting happened around 8:30 a.m. on Monday at the Old National Bank on Main Street. At least 5 people have lost their lives, as well as the monster. So that's 6 in total. And at least 9 people were hurt. So I guess it's still 9 people if you count the person that lost their life. Okay. So the people who have lost their lives have been identified by the LMPD, and their names are as follows. And may they rest in peace. My heart, my thoughts, my prayers, all that stuff. We always say those things, but I'm real. May they rest in peace. And I can only imagine what the families are going through right now. So I want to give them as much of the vibrations and the energy of strength right now, because that's what they need right now. every single person that's been affected, every family member, etc., that's been affected by this tragedy, and all the other ones. Let's keep it real. We all need strength right now more than ever. But Tommy Elliott, 63 years old, he was senior vice president at the bank. Jim Tutt, he was 64. He was a market executive. Josh Barrick, 40, senior vice president, commercial real estate banking. Juliana Farmer was 45, commercial banking agent. And Deanna Eckert was 57 years old, and she was an executive administrative officer. Again, I guess Deanna, okay, or Dina. Hopefully, I'm saying her name right. Dina Eckert, okay. She was the one that recently lost her life. She succumbed to her injuries and lost her life, because these were the first four that were initially announced, identified. But last night, Dina Eckert succumbed to her injuries. Long story short. Now, of course, old National Bank CEO Jim Ryan did release a statement saying, in part, there are no words to adequately describe the sadness and devastation that our old national family is experiencing as we grieve the tragic loss of our team members and pray for the recovery of all those who were injured. Obviously, this is an incredibly difficult situation, and our entire focus is on making sure that everyone affected has the support and assistance they need. On behalf of everyone at Old National, I also want to acknowledge and thank Louisville law enforcement and the medical community and state and local officials for their incredible response to this tragedy. And finally, we ask you to please continue to pray for all those affected. Now, Old National Bank said that members of their leadership team have been in Louisville most of Monday to provide support and will continue to do so. And let me say this, that is incredibly important, right? That they don't sit there and just bury this. They don't sit there and try to ignore this, try to deflect the situation. This is some serious stuff. And these things continue to keep, this just keeps continuing on and on and on. I feel like it was yesterday with the tragedy at the Covenant School. It feels like it was yesterday because that's still fresh, right? That's still fresh for all of us. And yet we're back at this all over again. Both Mayor Craig Greenberg and Governor Bashar said they are close friends with Elliott. So Thomas Elliott right here. Okay. Close friends with Elliott. He was an incredible friend. This is what they were saying about Elliott. He was an incredible friend. He was loved. Just like every single person lost, each one irreplaceable to their families and this community. This is what Governor Bashar recently said. He helped me become governor. He gave me advice on how to be a good dad. One of the people I talk to most in the world, he said. As for Barrick, he was a father of two and coached basketball at Holy Trinity. A prayer vigil was held at the parish Monday night in remembrance of Barrick. And here's some of the photos from the actual vigil. And that, of course, is, hold on. Yeah, 40 years old. That's crazy. Just wanted to make sure they had that correct. At least 3 other people hurt are officers. 3 people total are critically hurt, and at least 3 have already been treated and released. So that's good. Some people have been able to walk away okay. The 25-year-old monster died at the scene during an exchange of gunfire with police. Now, what's frustrating is I wish they said more about the other victims as well. You know, yes, they talked about Josh Barrick and Tommy Elliott, but what about Jim Tutt? What about Juliana Farmer? What about Dina Eckert? I wish that they were talking about them as well. And hopefully families of these victims that did lose their lives, hopefully they do come out and speak more about this, speak out, and speak life, speak positively about the other victims, because I'm sure we'd all like to know a little bit more about the 5 that have lost their lives, right? I think that's what we all would like. And Raven McCall, you ain't wrong. For 145 mass tragedies in the U.S. so far. Yeah. And we're in the 4th month, right? We're in month 4. We're still averaging a tragedy a day. It's crazy. That's crazy. Okay? That's so crazy. So continuing on, because there's a lot more that's going on here that we need to talk about. Obviously, you see the title here. We're going to get into the nuts and bolts of that because it is very shocking. There is allegedly a voicemail that he left behind, threatening to do a whole lot of damage. You know, I got to use these code words. Now, of course, I don't have the voicemail, but they do talk of a voicemail. He left a letter behind. So we got a lot to look into. There's a lot going on here, okay? So one of the things I do want to show you is that he did live stream this attack. This piece of work did live stream this attack. Now, I heard it through you guys in the comment section. I didn't see anything online that was actually confirming that he live streamed this event, this tragedy. But as I was looking through things, etc., that's when I found out that bang, he really did do that thing. Who does that? But nonetheless, I've seen crazy stuff happen on live streams. Those things have happened. Okay. So it's just surprising that he did that. And it makes you wonder, where was his mind at? What would make somebody go from one thing to just being fine to this, right? We're going to get into that in just a second. So obviously we already know he was unalived. His life was taken by police. Okay. But so I've heard 23 years old. I've heard 25. But when we looked at his LinkedIn yesterday, when we all saw that as a family, it said 25. So I think 5-0 during one of their press briefings made a mistake. They misspoke. They said the wrong number. But he is 25 years old. He was a bank employee of the Old National Bank. Okay. Of course, we already know he's identified as a white man who used a rifle to attack staff at the bank where he worked. Old National Bank in downtown Louisville, Kentucky. He went on rampage. This is what it is. After being notified that the bank where he had worked at since 2021 was ending his employment. We all kind of knew that was going to happen. Okay. We all knew that was going to happen, or that was the reason, right? That was the straw that broke the camel's back for this guy. Clearly it was because he was an ex-employee. And how he got fired, he didn't like. So this is what they're saying to news sources, okay? This monster also left a note for his parents and a friend telling them that he was going to attack the bank, that he was going to cause a tragedy. So he left the note wasn't mailed to anybody. He just left it behind. Crazy. So one of the police chiefs said that this monster fired at responding officers who returned fire to stop the threat. She confirmed that the suspect his life was taken by police. Chief said that the monster was live streaming the incident on social media and that police are hopeful that they will be able to have that footage removed. Now, we already identified all 5 victims, and there are a bunch of other people that are still clinging and fighting for their lives in the hospital right now as we speak. One of the responding officers was grazed on his left side, while the other suffered a limited elbow injury. One of the officers was struck in the head. His name is Nicholas Wilt. He's 26 years old, and he recently graduated from the police academy on the 31st of March. This is what Chief Villarol said. They said, I just sworn him in. And that's what they said during a press conference. All right. While Officer Wilt has come out of his brain surgery, he remains in critical condition. Now, I've heard stories that he's a vegetable. I don't know. I haven't heard confirmation of that, but I've heard rumors that his injury is severe and that he's a vegetable, but I have no confirmation of that so far. Okay. And of course, this is what the chief said. This will be a long and complex investigation, and we're not surprised. For my LMPD officers who took it upon themselves to stop the threat so more lives would not be lost, thank you. Evil should not try to prevail, and we shouldn't let it take our city, she added. So, of course, Mayor Greenberg said Mr. Elliott was a very good friend of his. We already know that. Okay. But this piece of work, this monster was definitely 110% live streaming the event. Live streaming the event. So this person definitely sat down, thought about this for a good minute, and said, I want my presence to be known, and I want everybody to remember this. Think about where a person's mind is like that. That's not a good place. Clearly. You're getting inspired, angered, whatever, because you lost your job. And so the only way you think you'll be vindicated or satisfied is by causing more havoc so that you can get your vengeance. Then on top of it, to put sprinkles or even a cherry on top of this madness, you say, I'm going to live stream this so that everybody remembers what I did. It's insane, guys. It's mind-blowing that is even
person has died following Monday
talking about right now.
Let's bring in four.
It's crazy enough and tragic enough and mind-blowing enough for someone to go into a place and take aim at other innocent lives. It's another to say, I'm going to live stream all this so everybody can see this too. I want my best friends. I want my mama to see this because she's going to be proud of what I'm doing. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. There's more. I did tell you about this, that he left apparently a chilling voicemail revealing his plans to end people. We got to get into that too. This is truly a piece of work here, guys. So says here he left a final voicemail message revealing his plans to unalive or end people at the bank, according to the police dispatch audio. The audio released by Broadcastify captures the minute-by-minute police response to Monday's horror attack when the 25-year-old disgruntled employee took the lives of his colleagues at the Old National Bank in downtown Louisville. In the audio, the dispatcher is heard saying to law enforcement officials on the scene that Sturgeon, the monster, had called a friend before the attack and left a voicemail saying he felt can't use those words, but I'll highlight it so you know where I'm at. He felt est, and that he planned to unalive everyone at the bank. Now here's the thing. I'd like to know who the friend is and why did the friend get the phone call? And don't get me wrong, I understand. I can only imagine. Let me just say this too. I can only imagine what the friend is feeling right now, because they're probably feeling a weight of guilt, depending on what kind of friend this is. Because if this is a friend that would encourage this kind of behavior, it's one thing, right? If you're encouraging this kind of behavior, it's one thing. But if you're just randomly receiving this message and then you're listening to it and you're like, whoa, wait, what? I can only imagine the amount of the weight of guilt that this friend is probably going through, because they're going, man, if I had gotten this phone call, if I had listened to this voicemail maybe sooner, maybe I could have talked him down from doing this, so on and so forth, right? It's heartbreaking. And now his friend, whoever that friend is, has to live with that for the rest of their life. That weight of guilt. It's terrible. The motive is unknown, but sources say that he had been told that he was being fired from the bank. Yeah. Okay. Now, let me see. Is it out? Do they have the audio of the voicemail? Nope. Actually, let me see something really quick. Let me just see if they actually released the voicemail. I wanted to see if maybe they released that voicemail, because I'm sure a lot of us would like to see that too. Man, oh man. But there is a press briefing, a new one that just is happening right now. I am going to share it with you guys. We're going to watch this as a family, okay? And then I'll get to all the super chats and all that stuff here in a second, okay? Hit the number 1 so that you guys can let me know you guys can hear this.
Thank you all for joining us. Yesterday was an incredibly difficult day for all of us in Louisville. I want to start by saying thanks again to everyone who pulled together to get through yesterday and to continue on today and the days ahead. First, that starts with our police officers. Chief, to you and your entire team, thank you all very much. In particular, thank you to Officer Wilt, Officer Galloway, who were 2 of the first officers to arrive on the scene to confront the assailant and to save lives. You and all of the colleagues at LMPD were true heroes yesterday and every day. And to our other first responders, EMS, Louisville Fire Department, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, the 911 operator at MetroSafe, who handled calls and dispatched so efficiently and well, and to our state and federal partners, thank you. And also a special thanks to Dr. Smith, to you and all of your colleagues at the University of Louisville Hospital. Thank you for saving lives yesterday and for saving lives every day. I also want to acknowledge the rest of our Metro government team who dealt with the challenges, adapted to the circumstances, and did what was asked of them yesterday to help others in our community. Thank you for embodying the best of public service. As we talk about what's happened since yesterday, I have to acknowledge the painful fact that this awful act of violence at Old National yesterday has taken another life. Late yesterday, we learned that Deanna Eckert passed. She was 57 years old. She was an employee of Old National Bank. I knew Deanna also. Deanna was a very kind and a very thoughtful person. She was a wonderful woman who will be missed. Her death means another family in mourning and adds yet another layer of tragedy to this moment. I want to briefly read a statement from Old National Bank CEO Jim Ryan, who has asked me to read this on behalf of him and his colleagues at Old National. Quote, "There are no words to adequately describe the sadness and devastation that our Old National family is experiencing as we grieve the tragic loss of our team members and pray for the recovery of all those who were injured. Obviously, this is an incredible, difficult situation, and our entire focus is on making sure that everyone affected has the support and assistance they need. On behalf of everyone at Old National, I also want to acknowledge and thank Louisville law enforcement, the medical community, and state and local officials for their incredible response to this tragedy. And finally, we ask you to please continue to pray for all those affected." Again, that was Old National CEO Jim Ryan. Our thoughts are with the families who've lost loved ones, and we're also thinking and praying for the people who were injured in this attack, including our police officers. So for an update on their condition, I first would like to welcome Dr. Jason Smith, Chief Medical Officer at U of L Health. Dr. Smith?
Thank you, Mayor. So from U of L Health and U of L Hospital, I want to send my prayers and thoughts out to all the families that were affected yesterday, both those we treated and unfortunately those we did not. An update from us, we still have 4 patients in the hospital. 2 remain in the ICU. Officer Wilkes still remains in critical condition, but we have been able to upgrade our other patient in the ICU to stable condition. The other 2 remain in the hospital being treated for non-life-threatening injuries. I want to thank my team, again, the emergency department, physicians and nurses, my trauma team at U of L Health, and all those that supported us yesterday. I also want to send a thank you to the American Red Cross. We used 170 units of blood yesterday to treat these victims, which far outstrips our hospital capacity, and their ability to get us that blood to save those lives helped save those lives. So I want to thank them for that. I'll be happy to take questions at the end of the press conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Now for a brief update on some information about things that we've learned about the events and the assailant yesterday. I'd like to call on our Chief of Police, Jacqueline Gwynn Biller-Roel. Chief.
To the mayor and everyone who is in attendance on today, we have learned that the suspect in this incident was a current employee with Old National Bank. We have also learned that he purchased the weapon used in this tragic incident on yesterday, on April the 4th. He purchased the weapon legally from one of the local dealerships here in Louisville. We have executed a search warrant on his residence, and we have recovered items. And we cannot get into specific details on what we recover at this time because, again, the investigation is ongoing. And we want to make sure that we're providing accurate information. The family deserves that, and the community deserves that. We also would like to share that later on this afternoon, we will be releasing body-worn camera footage of the incident. And so that
Yo.
information at the time will be released to you and the
Wow.
location, so everyone will be privy to that information. Thank you.
Real quick, hold on. Let me pause that really quick. You caught that too. Okay, Raven McCall. It's a current employee. Current. Interesting, right? Did y'all catch that too? Y'all caught current, right? I want to make sure I'm not losing my mind, that me, Tyler, and Raven aren't losing our minds. Maybe he thought he was getting fired. And Steph, yep. Let's go through the bullets here. And I don't mean bullets in a, you know what I mean. Let's go through the points here, okay? One main thing you could take from this. Well, two main things. One, current employee. She said current. He was not an ex-employee. Okay. Another thing, gun was bought legally at a local store. Then, of course, more, obviously, we already know the other things that happened here. But one of them, and then, of course, there were items that they found in his house, in his place, that they're not going to release yet. We know that there is a voicemail that he left on one of his friends' phones, or to one of his friends. And then, of course, there was a letter. And in that letter, it was written to him, to his parents and his friend, basically saying that he was going to go and do a lot of damage. So he was able to go to a store, to go to a local dealer and buy it. He didn't buy this online or anything. Other thing that we got here from that piece was a current employee. Maybe he was finding out he was about to get fired, maybe. But this is when I want to know if the letter or in the voicemail, he talks about his termination from his current job. That's the piece I'd like to know. But that's very interesting information. Current employee, and he was able to get the gun in town from a dealer. He bought it legally. Let's continue. That is crazy. They found items in his crib. They haven't released that information yet. And then also another thing is later on this afternoon, they're supposed to be putting out the body cam footage of everything that went down when the cops showed up. And you know for a fact, when the cops showed up, it was quick. Kind of like with what happened at the Covenant School. It was minutes. Same thing here. So let's continue. This is crazy. That's crazy. Current employee, guys. Current. He may have heard through the grapevine because somebody else, sorry, one more thing. One last thing. Somebody just said it a little bit ago. I showed it in the comment. I popped it up onto the screen. Now, he may have heard through the grapevine that he was about to get a termination letter. He may have heard that he might be on the chopping block. Or this guy just couldn't take whatever was going on in his life anymore and had a mental break. Those are the only two choices here. So he may not have been even getting fired. This may have been stuff that was playing on in his head too. But he was a current employee. That's very important to soak into the brain matter here, guys. Current. Let's go. That's wild.
Thank you, Chief. We need to acknowledge that a tragedy like this affects everyone. I've already talked about some of our first responders and colleagues in Metro government. Thanks also to the faith leaders and social workers and mental health professionals who provided comfort and counsel to people in understandable distress. I also want to acknowledge the teachers and parents who had to have difficult conversations with our children throughout our community about this inexplicable act of violence and cruelty. We're all feeling shaken by this and scared and angry and a lot of other things too. It's important that we come together as a community to process this tragedy in particular, but not just this tragedy. Because the reality is that we have already lost 40 people to gun violence in Louisville this year, including another young man yesterday, just a few blocks away from Old National Bank, shortly after this tragic incident happened. That was a separate targeted incident, but the result was the same. Needless tragedy, needless loss of life. In order to help the people of our community, of our great city, come together and deal with this outbreak of tragedies, to grieve, to pray, to unite, I'd like to announce that we are going to be hosting a vigil tomorrow, Wednesday, at 5 p.m. at the Muhammad Ali Center Plaza. This vigil will be to acknowledge the wounds, physical and emotional, that gun violence leaves behind. It will be an interfaith opportunity for our entire community to come together, to grieve, to heal, to begin to move forward. We also know that Wednesday is a night of worship for many across our city. And so, working with Paul Callanan and his colleagues at the Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhood, we will be having grief counselors at over a dozen churches throughout our city that have regularly scheduled worship on Wednesday evenings as well. We invite the entire community to join us at the Muhammad Ali Center tomorrow at 5 p.m. And also, if you prefer to worship on your own, again, we will be providing some grief counselors, and we'll have a list of those churches where members of Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhood will be located by mid-afternoon today. And I want to thank the Muhammad Ali Center for hosting this vigil on such short notice. One really loving thing in the midst of this tragedy has been the sheer number of people locally and around the world who've shown such love and support for our city. It means a lot to my wife, Rachel, and I. We are deeply grateful on behalf of everyone in Louisville for those who have reached out from beyond and within our city borders. There are so many people who want to do something, who have offered to help, who see this nightmare unfold and want to make it better somehow. We love and appreciate that so much. For those of you who are looking to take action right now, to show your support for the first responders who are trying to save lives and for the victims of gun violence, one great way to do that is to donate blood. According to Johns Hopkins University, gunshot wounds require much more blood than other types of injuries. You just heard Dr. Smith talk about the amount of blood that was needed and used yesterday. He mentioned his thanks to the Red Cross. We're very thankful to the American Red Cross. So we encourage people to make an appointment to donate at redcrossblood.org. That's redcrossblood.org. We encourage everyone to donate blood, and if you can't, there are other ways to support the American Red Cross with donations or your time. So next, I'd like to call up Steve Cunanan, who's CEO of the Louisville Red Cross. Steve?
Thank you. Our thoughts and our deepest sympathies are with the people of Louisville and those that have been impacted by Monday's tragic shooting. At the request of local emergency management on Monday, the American Red Cross Louisville area chapter and its volunteers helped support a family reunification center. The Red Cross continues to work with local authorities and their community partners and is helping to provide aid and assistance to those people affected by this tragedy. At this time, the American Red Cross is working closely with the University of Louisville Hospital. And as Dr. Smith has mentioned, we have provided more than 170 units of blood products to the hospital to treat those that have been affected by this. The Red Cross stands ready to provide additional blood and blood products upon the request. And as the mayor has mentioned, volunteer blood donors are needed each and every day to help save lives. This tragedy illustrates that it's the blood that's already on hand and on the shelves that helps during an emergency. Type O negative is the universal blood type, and that is what the emergency room personnel use and what they reach for when they don't have time to determine a blood type, and that's one of the types that is needed most. The American Red Cross is grateful to all those donors who generously give blood throughout this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, to all you and all of your colleagues at the Red Cross. There's one more topic that we need to talk about today.
Gun violence?
And that's guns.
Hey.
Yesterday's tragedy brings us to 40 people who've been shot to death this year in our city. That level of gun violence is beyond horrific, and it's beyond anything we can and will accept in our community. Our police did a heroic job yesterday and every day. And we are already doing a lot to reduce the amount of gun violence in our city and make Louisville safer. We're investing in neighborhoods and in people who have been overlooked for generations, so every child has an opportunity to succeed and pursue their hopes and dreams. We're going to invest more in mental health care. We're working to make universal pre-K a reality. Workforce development initiatives for young and older adults alike. These are all important. These are all also long-term solutions. We have to take action now. We need short-term action to end this gun violence epidemic now, so fewer people die on our streets and in our banks and in our schools and in our churches. And for that, we need help. We need help from our friends in Frankfurt and help from our friends in Washington, D.C. This isn't about partisan politics. This is about life and death. This is about preventing tragedies. You may think this will never happen to you, never happen to any of your friends or loved ones. I used to think that. The sad truth is that now no one in our city, no one in our state, no one in our country has that luxury anymore. Last year, I survived a workplace shooting. And now yesterday, I've lost a very close friend in another workplace shooting. 5 more families have lost a loved one. It has happened in Louisville. It could happen in Paducah, in Pikeville, or in Covington. This is happening in America everywhere and will keep happening until we say enough and take meaningful action. Congressman McGarvey will talk about some things at the federal level. So I'll address what we can do at the state level. I have 2 requests today for every Kentucky state senator and every Kentucky state representative who wants to join me in reducing the amount of gun violence in Louisville. First, if you support police officers like Officer Wilt and Officer Galloway, who heroically ran into a barrage of fire from a waiting assailant with an assault rifle. If you support local decision-making to address local issues, if you want to help our state's largest city thrive, please give Louisville the autonomy to deal with our unique gun violence epidemic. Let us, the people of Louisville, make our own choices about how we reduce gun violence in our city. Other communities should be able to make the policies that work for them. Let us implement policies that work for us. So please change our state law to let Louisville make its own decisions about reducing the amount of illegal guns on our streets and gun violence that is killing far too many people in mass shootings, in individual shootings, in any shootings. Let me be clear. I don't care about finger pointing. I don't care about blame. I don't care about politics. I'm only interested in working together with our state legislators to take meaningful action, to save lives, to prevent more tragic injuries and more death. Arguing is not a strategy. Doing nothing is not a strategy. It's not a solution. The second thing, and to those in the national media that are joining us here today, this may be even more shocking than it is to those of us locally who know this and are dealing with this. But under current Kentucky law, the assault rifle that was used to murder 5 of our neighbors and shoot at rescuing police officers will one day be auctioned off. Think about that. That murder weapon will be back on the streets one day under Kentucky's current law. My administration has already taken action to remove the firing pin before turning confiscated guns over to the state, because that's all that the current law allows us to do. That's not enough. It's time to change this law and let us destroy illegal guns and destroy the guns that have been used to kill our friends and kill our neighbors. I know every member of the state legislature, like everyone else in our state and in our country, is horrified by what we saw yesterday, by what we see in other cities around the country. None of us wants this to happen again. None of us wants this to happen in our neighborhood, but it will keep happening. That's why we have to do more than what we've already done. Let's change the state laws that would make me a criminal for trying too hard to stop the real evil criminals who are taking other people's lives and who are eager to make a spectacle of mass murder. The laws we have now are enabling violence and murder. It's time to change those laws to save lives and keep our people safe. To those in the Kentucky State Legislature, let's work together. I look forward to working with you on this. Now, I'd like to welcome Congressman Morgan McGarvey.
Morning. Thank you to Mayor Greenberg and your team, Rachel, for your leadership through this. I'm not here today simply as a congressman. I am a lifelong Louisvillian, born and raised here, and my heart hurts. I got the call yesterday when I was in Washington, D.C., and we didn't know exactly what had happened yet, but you got that feeling of dread, that something's wrong. This isn't normal.
My Lord.
And then more information starts coming out. And the heartbreak begins. And the names start coming out. And we know them. And they're friends. Because this is Louisville. Louisville, Kentucky. The biggest small town in America. We call it Louisville because really and truly everybody knows everybody. We are not 7 degrees of separation from people in Louisville. We are 1 degree of separation from people in Louisville. When we ask you, what school did you go to? We mean high school. I went to Manual High School.
So this makes me think of St. Louis. St. Louis, same thing. Biggest, smallest town in the world. All right. Or biggest city, biggest, smallest city, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. And yeah, in St. Louis, everybody asks each other. That's one of the questions that you ask. Hey, what high school did you go to? And all that. Okay. So this is not a surprise to me that's like a ongoing thing that you get everywhere in Louisville as well. Okay. So I feel like we watched enough of this. We got to hear the mayor speak. And that was good to hear what he had to say. And the thing is like, we get, I appreciate him saying what he said. Let me just say that first. What he said out loud was very important to hear, and I'm glad that we heard it. But I also want to see those words come into action. Because, of course, we see our politicians, we see our elected officials get in front of a mic and say these kind of things, and then you wonder if they're actually going to follow through with the hope that they're pouring into each listener's ear. It was very well written, very well said, and I appreciate what he did. I appreciate him talking about these things. But there's that other part. That concern of, is he actually going to follow through with what he is saying out here? He's making a plea out to the state, basically, right? But aside from him getting on the mic and going, oh yeah, it's the state's doing, there's a lot that obviously I don't know everything, but I'm sure there are things that the mayor could do to maybe help push the needle, push the narrative towards that, in that direction. The information that he did give out here is very good information. The fact that that very gun could be auctioned out and some other person could have that very gun that Connor, that this monster was actually holding, right? During this tragedy. There's some interesting pieces of information he took out there that I didn't even realize that about these rifles and these guns, that they just go back on the market. They get auctioned out. And then somebody else is holding on to a gun that used to be held by a mass monster that caused mass tragedies. That's a wild thing to think about. But there needs to be some sort of control. There needs to be. But guess what? As we said before, we were all wondering, what kind of weapon was he running around with? Well, I'm just going to show you this title. But he was running around with an AR-15, y'all. I said it earlier. I was like, I'm just going to give you guys one guess. Because it is the staple weapon that we hear and we see a lot of these monsters running around here with. It's right there. Another AR. Another one. And remember, I have to emphasize this enough. I can't emphasize this enough. What we learned in that press conference. One, they were calling him a current employee, not an ex-employee. So he may have been disgruntled. Somebody said in the chat, that maybe he found out that other people were getting raises and he wasn't. Well, we don't know. All we know is that he was currently an employee. He was currently employed there. He was not an ex-employee, not a former employee or anything of that sort. News is coming out saying that he, I guess, had found out that he was getting fired, maybe, but maybe the termination did not go into full effect until the day he walked into work on that day, on Monday. Maybe he was supposed to walk into work on Monday, and instead he walked into work with a weapon. That could be it too. But as far as what they're saying out here, this was a current employee. Another thing, one more time. He was able to buy this legally, by the way. He legally bought this AR-15 by a dealer. Pretty crazy stuff, y'all. Okay, let's continue. Okay, let us continue. We got some more information, more videos and all that. Little clip from the news that I want to share with you guys.
After the shooting, Louisville Metro Police and ATF agents began searching a home in the Camp Taylor neighborhood. We know they were also going door to door, asking for ring camera video, things of that nature. But that one particular home in a Camp Taylor neighborhood was listed as an address for the shooter.
Travis Breeze and photojournalist Paul Dunsford were there on the scene when police went inside the home.
An LMPD SWAT team rolling up to the Camp Taylor home of 25-year-old Connor Sturgeon around 2:45 p.m. Monday. Officers knocked loudly and entered with no resistance.
And it scares you. You're afraid to, walk your dog or whatever.
People living on Taylor Avenue reacting to the scene downtown and also trying to recall any previous exchanges with Sturgeon.
He does look familiar.
You never spoke to him or waved at him or anything?
Not that I can remember.
To live next door to someone, I mean, I can't say nothing bad about the guy. Friendly. I was never scared or afraid or had fear of them. They're very nice people.
Kira Algier lives right next door to Sturgeon and at least one roommate. We were able to speak with her as soon as police took down the crime scene tape.
Never heard no kind of violence, never heard noise from them. Very respectful.
Yeah.
Probably like your favorite neighbor.
According to news.
And let me just say this. You hear that story a lot, don't you? They were a quiet family. He was a quiet guy, kept to himself. Oh, he was nice. Kept to himself, though. I didn't really know him much, but he was nice. We hear that story all the time. This is not shocking at all. There's another piece of information y'all are talking about in the chat. We are gonna talk about that here in a second. Let's continue.
News and Tribune in New Albany, Sturgeon was a star track and basketball athlete at Floyd Central High School, and his dad was the coach for a time. We did see one person on the forensics team walking out with a laptop, but that officer would not confirm it was a piece of evidence.
Obviously it is.
I understand why you want to go hurt people's moms, dads, brother, sister.
The SWAT team did not stay long as police wasted no time to explore all motives in this shooting. Travis Breeze, WHAS 11.
We hear this story a lot, guys. We hear the story. It's a tale as old as time. Like, we hear this story all the time, babies. We hear this a lot. He was quiet. Nice guy. Kept to himself, though. He had a roommate. And I'd love to hear what the roommate has to say about some of these things. And I'm still wondering, is there some sort of connect like between this tragedy and the roommate? Was the roommate a part of it? Was the roommate keeping that same energy as this monster? But this monster decided to actually followed through with what he wanted to do. You never know. Also, you also got to play the other side of the fence too, where they're just roommates. They're just keeping the rent paid, and that's all that matters. They may talk, small talk, so on and so forth, and they live their lives in this as roommates. They're not close, but they live as their lives as roommates in this house together. That could be it too. But he wrote a letter that was addressed to not only his parents, but a friend. And then he left a voicemail to a friend saying that he was going to do some damage. He literally did that. So I keep wondering, is that same friend his roommate, or is that a separate friend? That's what I'd like to know. And yes, Rebel Girl Media, this is all sad. All of it is sad. It's disturbing. It's absolutely disturbing. Okay? But yeah, please don't forget to hit that like button. Send it past 400 likes really quick. That would really mean a lot, okay? A like doesn't cost a thing, all right? Thank you, Raven. And of course, do not forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that yet as well. I got to get into these super chats here before we move on. And there's conversation about pronouns and all that, which we are going to talk about, because there's this rumor that's circulating the internets saying something along the lines, something that revolves around pronouns. And y'all, we're going to get into it though. Not every person, not every monster that's been out here that's taken the lives of people are automatically part of the LGBTQ plus community. Okay. It's just not. Okay. There are other people out here in the world that just want to do damage for the sake of doing damage. And it has nothing to do. I know some of y'all will feel some type of way about this kind of thing, what I'm going to say here, but that has nothing to do with the fact that people lost their lives. Same thing. If he was a current or ex-employee, doesn't matter. He still did what he did. Okay. So real quick, Jamie, thank you so much for the $20 super sticker. Nicole B, thank you so much for the $2. Unmatched consistency. Oh, thank you so much, Nicole B. I appreciate that, sweetheart. Wanted to make sure you guys got the information on this. Real talk. Vet Faye, thank you so much for becoming a member. And just like Vet, you can become a member by hitting that join button down below. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Miss Renee, thank you so much for becoming a member. Welcome to the family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. We got a couple more things. Hold on. Hold up. A couple more, and then we're going to get into more information because we got to talk about concussions too. Matt Bond, thank you so much for the 2 Australia Buckaroos. Thank you, man. Hand up if you're not surprised he bought it legally. Y'all put your hands up if you're not surprised. I'm not. Okay. Of course he bought it legally. Of course. A couple more. And I think that's the problem. Okay. Legally or illegally, that is a problem. That's what I think. But, there's only so much you can do with and that's all the super chats. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super chats. Welcome to the family, to all you new members that just joined. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support. Okay. Yes. Legal or illegally, it is very tough out here with these AR-15s, these AK-47s. The other thing too is on paper, if they're just looking at you on paper, they're just looking at if you have a record, if you are a felon, so on and so forth. That's all they're doing. And then it's like, done. Here you go, AR-15. You know what I mean? It is frustrating. It is really, really frustrating that it's that easy. And you got to remember, let me show you this monster's face one more again. I'm just going to pull up images so we all see his face. Here we go. See now, and this is small, I know, but you see his face. Imagine him showing up and buying a weapon. I'm sure at face value, he looks like a safe guy. Oh, he'd never do anything. He wouldn't hurt a fly, right? I mean, shoot, this is a photo with his family. Let me show you the photo with his family. Bang. You see that with the circle around his face? He looks like he pays his taxes. Okay. So at face value, you're walking in and going, hey, I'd like to buy X, Y, and Z. You know, there's no checks. You know, they're not doing their full due diligence to make sure that this person's of sound mind and body. Okay. It sucks. But yeah, what Raven just said, we must not generalize. We shouldn't. We can't just look at him and go, oh, you know, this regular white guy, he's safe. Look at him. He's wearing an Oxford shirt. He's safe. We give him this AR-15. Everything's going to be fine. He's just using it to protect his family or whatever. Background check came out fine. Maybe a few speeding tickets, maybe a couple parking tickets. But other than that, he's not a felon. So, hey, enjoy yourself, AR-15. And then a few days later, tragedy ensues. I do feel that there needs to be more due diligence. There needs to be more due diligence when it comes to that. If we're not going to get them off the streets, let's just say that. Okay, let's keep it real. If we're not going to get those legal AR-15s, AK-47s, whatever, off the streets, then we must make it more difficult for one to obtain one. If that means a psych eval or something like that, if we got to have extra steps, hey, that's less people that look, no offense, okay, no disrespect, but that look like this guy. We'll have less people that look like this guy that want to do damage out here on these streets. And I know some of y'all will disagree with me on that. But at the same time, hey, at least it's another precaution. I know it's annoying. You're just like, dang, I just want to go and get my thing. My guns, my rights. Fine. That's fine, baby. But you need to make sure you go through some more hoops before you get something more lethal than just a handgun. I feel like that's fair. I feel like that's fair. I know it's annoying that you got to take your shoes and take off your belt and take off your hat and take off your jacket when you walk in through the security checkpoint going onto a plane. But don't you want to arrive alive? Don't you want to show up to your vacation, put your toes in the sand, feeling good? Taking all your wallets and your keys and the extra change. And I don't even know why you have loose change in your pockets nowadays, but you know what I'm saying. Taking it all out, putting it in that little bowl as you walk in. Beep, beep, beep. You got to walk back out. You walk back in only to realize you still got your chain around your neck or something stupid. You feel me? And yes, it's annoying, but at the same time, those are extra precautions to make sure we all arrive alive. So we should be doing the same thing when it comes to obtaining a rifle. Lethal weapons. Let's just say that. But let's continue here. So I wanted to show you, this is interesting too. Now, I don't think this adds anything or I don't know if this adds anything to the pot of stew that we're stewing, you know what I mean, that we're stirring right here, okay? But they say that this monster suffered multiple concussions during his high school basketball career, okay? And I'm just going to read these bullets here really quick, okay? Because we're not going to dive all the way into this. But could he be a victim of CTE? And then that CTE caused him to go out here and do this unthinkable thing? A current employee, from what we're understanding from that press conference? It's very interesting. Okay, so let's see this. Kind of Sturgeon, 25. We already know. The monster. He did these unthinkables. Now, he attended Floyd Central High School, all right, in Indiana. and was remembered as a star athlete, excelling at track, football, and basketball. Now, the thing is that concussions from his basketball career, that's interesting. Football, I could see. Okay. One of his former classmates said they recalled him suffering from multiple concussions while playing basketball, having to wear a head guard. And let me show you. This is the actual head guard he had to wear. Boom. Looky that. It's better over here because it's zoomed in more. But he had to wear a helmet. Now they're saying that he got concussions from playing basketball. Interesting. Interesting. But he played football too. Let's not forget that, y'all. Track, basketball, football. But he wore a helmet during his games. Could this be the start of where? Could this be the start of where his mental health started to decay or not? And yes, David, I agree. They really do need, and they better be running a good autopsy on him as well. If this is a theory that's out here, they should exercise or explore that theory. Could this be a result from CTE? Jean just said, or Jean said, brain damage, possible. Could be. But I will say this, still doesn't justify someone coming out and doing these unthinkable things, causing a mass tragedy. But this is our guy. This is the monster that did this thing. He was a star of track. He was a talented football player and basketball player. Imagine that, y'all. Clearly, there was something off with him mentally. Clearly, something's not right. Clearly, he was dealing with some mental health issues. Could this be a part of, could the CTE be a part of it? Or was he someone who was just dealing with some severe mental health issues, severe depression, what have you? But then to have homicidal tendencies is something that is very surprising to me as well. And it does make me wonder what his social life was like too. But again, he was a star track. He was a star in track. He was a very talented football player and he was a talented basketball player. So as far as him being like popular or center of attention or whatever, you know what I mean? A social butterfly maybe. He doesn't fit the mold in that way. If you look at traditional things of like guys who don't, talk to anybody, they're kind of to themselves, they're quiet, they're socially awkward, what have you. A lot of times they're not like the star athlete of the high school. A lot of them are praised. So I don't know. But then again, it could have been a thing of he may have been upset that he peaked in high school. You never know. And then he's doing his job. He's doing these things. He's used to accomplishing things. He's used to winning. He's used to keeping his mind focused on that goal, focused on that finish. And if he was about to get fired, that could have triggered him. That could have done it too. Yeah, let me show you guys this. This is what they said according to this is quoted from the Daily Beast, but this is what another friend said about these concussions. They said, the big thing I keep going back to is that in the first year of high school, we played football together in the 8th grade. He was out most of the year because he had multiple concussions. Football, guys. Then he had a couple more in high school. I'm not saying it's the cause, But I always think back to that. There were times I'd wonder, will this catch up with him? But never in this way. He's the last person I'd expect would do this. Let me repeat that again. He said he's the last person I'd expect who would do this. The friend said that this monster was popular. Ha! Was popular and high flying. And was nicknamed Mr. Floyd Central. Interesting, don't you think? Let's continue. His father, Todd Sturgeon, was the head basketball coach until last year. So his father was coaching him in basketball. He previously coached the University of Indianapolis men's basketball team for 10 seasons, but left in 2007 after watching his son at a basketball camp and realizing maybe he'd rather have more time to spend with his own sons than other people's. Sturgeon's brother, the monster's brother, is a professional model. Let me repeat that again. He was very popular in high school, popular and high flying, and was nicknamed Mr. Floyd Central. He's got a brother who's a professional model. So this isn't an incel type of situation, because I know some of y'all like incel, but apparently he was not, at least not in high school. But this could very well be one of those things where he went to high school, he was king ding-a-lang, okay? He was the cat's pajamas. Why is that even a phrase? But moving on. He was hella cool and popular because he was very talented as an athlete. Praised in his high school. He goes to college. Whatever happens in college, God only knows. But then he goes on to a 9-to-5 job. Imagine his life being nothing but focused on being the best, being fire at everything that he does. He could do no wrong. He's a winner, right? And then say he finds out about something and it makes him snap. Or he's holding back, and now, of course, this is me speculating, but maybe he was holding on to the glory days. I don't know. That just took a turn. He's expecting to just continue to excel. And maybe he didn't excel how he thought he should be excelling. Maybe it was too many losses all in a row with something. And it just put him on the journey towards a downward spiral down a very dark hole. I don't know. All I know is that this is tragic information. And again, a guy that seemed to have the world on a string. And then it all came crashing down. Now, does it have anything to do with these concussions? Maybe. Still doesn't justify the loss and the injuries of multiple people, causing a mass tragedy. But I do have to emphasize that nowadays, we have got to be careful on who we giving weapons to. They can look like the regular guy got everything lined up for him, their whole future set out for him and all that. This kid could have been more. And he decided to buy a weapon and do these unthinkables. This is the reason why we have to have certain red tape, certain BS in the way so that it becomes harder for anyone. You could look like this guy. You can look like these other kids that we have seen out here that clearly look suspicious as hell. They are still able to go and obtain a weapon. They don't go through any type of extra hoops. They don't have to fill out extra paperwork. They don't have to sit down and get psych eval. evaluations or anything like that. They just get the gun. These are very dangerous times, y'all. These are very, very dangerous times. Now, one thing, because to me, this is absolute BS in my personal opinion, and I keep thinking that there are certain realms of the world that are really trying to spin this for some weird reason. The people are sitting here saying something about this kid being transgender. This kid is not. This kid is not. But people are trying to use the pronoun thing, and they're trying to go to town with that ish. But real quick, I wanted to say thank you to Kelly Jane. Thank you, Kelly Jane, for becoming a member. Appreciate it, Kelly Jane. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Seriously. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay? But this is messed up. You guys are talking about something that's not even true. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay? There's a tweet that just has been out since yesterday by Sebastian Gorka. I guess he goes by Dr. G. Let me show you what he put up here. And it's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Again, trying to find ways to polarize this tragedy for the betterment of someone's narrative. Okay? For a specific side's narrative. It is a waste of time, and this is ridiculous. Because the words that are coming out here, the stories that are flying out here are not accurate, guys. This kid is a guy. He identifies as a guy. He is not part of the LGBTQ plus community. And people need to get off that soapbox trying to make it sound like another situation out here. Another Audrey Hale situation. Okay? But you see here, Louisville monster ID'd. Connor Sturgeon is the monster's name. Bank employee proudly displaying his pronouns online. Let me tell you something. Don't you remember we were just talking about Madeline Kingsbury? We're still trying to find out some information about that. They are still working so hard. Thousands of people are still trying to find that young mother of two, just so you guys know. And if I get some more updates, I'll let you guys know about that story guaranteed. Okay, and I got another story for you guys about a little boy that we're going to talk about later on today. But let me just say this. Let me show this to you. We saw his freaking LinkedIn, and people are so focused on he and him rather than what he did. Y'all need to stop. Y'all need to stop. Do you realize the reason why I'm talking about Madeline Kingsbury? She has the same thing. Actually, you know what? F this noise. Hold up. Let me show it to y'all. F this noise. Because I am so tired of it. Like all of a sudden, everybody's like, "Oh, we gotta make this a big deal because he put on this thing, him. Who cares? Does that change anything?" Boom. Let me show this to you. Blammo. Do you see right next to her name? Madeline Kingsbury says she, her. Why is that a big deal? Why do we even give a damn about that? This dude wasted this mother lover. I don't know anything about Dr. G. I don't know about this Sebastian Gorka. But why do you have to put this stuff out here? Then he says hashtag red flag. Do you know how many people use that stuff? Says he, him there, but babies. Nothing about transgender, just so you know. Doesn't say she, her. Doesn't say they, them. People do that all the time. But everybody's so focused on this BS rather than being focused on the problem at hand, which is violence is going on out here every single day. People are losing their lives. Has nothing to do with pronoun stuff, guys. But this dude This dude has the audacity to put this ish out here so that you guys go into the chat and start talking some mess about, oh, another transgender. He's not transgender. This is just a monster that wanted to do some bad things, period. Let it go. Oh my God. Let it go. Let it go. Because a monster's still a monster is a monster is a monster is a monster. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter. You point your rifle at somebody and you decide to go into a place and annihilate a whole bunch of people. I don't care your political views. You still, or where you stand, your pronouns or your sexual orientation. I don't care. You are out there causing havoc, causing pain and tragedy. You a monster in my book. But this guy has to try to turn it into a certain type of narrative that has nothing to do with the tragedy at hand. We need to stop entertaining our minds with useless filth, fluff. Okay? This is fluff, y'all. What this man did, what this monster did, is unthinkable. And we should be focusing on what we can do to prevent these things from happening. Not these things of how he did something on his social media LinkedIn page that everybody else does too. We need to get over that ish. And let me squash it one more time here. He is not transgender. And if he was, that's not the root of the problem. And it never was. It's the violence. And we need to figure that out. We need to find a way to quell these issues, quell this violence, because it's getting worse and worse. We keep talking about all these mass tragedies almost every single day. Some of them have been fake, which is still disgusting and disturbing as well. But none of the less, regardless, what has been done here is appalling and heartbreaking. And we need to find ways. We need to find ways to stop it. And we need to find ways to stop it now. Anyway, guys, that's the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. Man, I love y'all. Some people just don't see the forest through the trees, and that's frustrating. It's frustrating. I wish that there was a different way of looking at things. But we need to stop letting the rumors fly out here and have them be part of this whole thing. This does not need to be tabloidy. And until they say something otherwise, where friends and family come out and talk about him in that way, I'm resting my laurels on the fact that that piece does not even matter. It doesn't. We have people out here that are suffering. By the way, we still have family from that Nashville tragedy that are still suffering. We still have people from other mass tragedies that we have covered still suffering to this day. And we need to find ways to stop the madness. That's why I keep urging you guys, talk to your local, your elected officials, your representatives, etc. Because this is something that should have been taken care of a long time ago. Anyway, guys, I appreciate all y'all for being here. Real talk. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below. Please and thank you. That would really mean a lot. All right. And of course, do not forget to hit that subscribe button. You know your boy's working hard out here in these streets to give you the conversation and the stories that you need for the day. So please crush that subscribe button, okay? That would really, really mean a lot. I got some other stories for you guys later on today, so be on the lookout for that. Oh, also, please go over. I think Popcorn Planet has already started, but please hop over to Popcorn Planet. They have a fundraiser for Make-A-Wish going on right now as we speak. Please go over there, be a part of that energy, give back. Please also, contribute if you can. All right, go over to Popcorn Planet and give them some love and tell them that I sent you there if you guys do decide to hop over there and check out the show. Okay, guys. Anyway, I don't know. I might be on there and I might not. We'll see if I get squeezed in. But they got a huge packed show today to raise money for Make-A-Wish. So hop over there and contribute, okay? Anyway, it is time to get going. Oh, Liza just said rumors are flying out because the government has not been transparent for some reason. I don't care about pronouns. Exactly. I don't care either. Now, if they haven't been, then I don't know. Unless that's something that's new and developing and he was just realizing that for himself later on, we don't know. How he presents himself on the social media is one thing. How he is behind closed doors is another thing, and we'll see what happens. But right now, I think it's just a rumor, tabloid crap that's flying around. And if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to come on here and tell you guys that I was wrong. But anyway, we'll see if that's true or not. Again, that's not the focus. Let's change this stuff that we have going on in this country. Let's fix things. But anyway, guys, again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I appreciate you guys for being here. It is time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.